王者の頃、今ここに列をなす、天姫炉の力を見るがいい。シンクロ召喚。行け、我がの魂、レッドデモンズドラゴン。Hey, what is up YouTube? This is the Mermaid Master coming at you guys again from the Team Time Riders YouTube channel. And if you guys could not tell, that was the summoning chant for the Red Dragon Archfiend from the Japanese version of Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds. And you probably know where this is going, and if you don't already, we are going to do a Jack Atlas character deck today, guys. I've been waiting a long time to profile for this for you guys, and I could not wait to really get this out there. It took me a little while to try and memorize that little chant in the beginning, but I think it was totally worth it for what I'm about to show. This basically is going to be a 5Ds character deck. You guys have seen all these resonator decks and all of this stuff like floating around with all the other Red Dragon Archfiend support that came out in the High Speed Rider set. However, what I'm doing with this is I'm taking it a different direction and trying to build as faithful a copy of Jack Atlas's 5Ds deck as I could, while still maintaining the kind of, style of play that he did. And while cards such as like Red Resonator and Red Warg are very, very good cards and help you ramp up into powerful monsters with like Red Rising and other things like that, all of those are ultimately a style of play that's, towards the Arc V style, rather than Jack's 5D style, and focuses on like levels 4, 6, and levels 2, 4, and 6. Whereas Jack's normal styles focused only a little bit on level 4 for like beatdown strategies, but then had a little bit more, of a look into other levels, such as levels 5 and 3, which was his main thing with like his Vice Dragons and his Dark Resonator. Similar to my Jaden Yuki deck, there are going to be a couple of options that he did not actually run, but I feel like these are like obscure enough picks and choices that kind of fit with his style without taking away from ultimately what the style of his deck was. And he's not quite as popular a character as Jaden Yuki was, and his monsters are not quite as iconic. But the Red Dragon Archfiend series really, really speaks for itself. I went out of my way, like completely out of my way, to try and hollow out this extra deck as much as I possibly could. You can see here by the first ed, Ulti Red Dragon Archfiend in here. One of my favorite pickups in a very, very long time. So I'm very, very excited to bring this deck profile to you and show you guys really some of the cool power plays that it makes. And I will say this, before I talk off you guys any further than this, is that he actually does have, even for strategy revolving around primarily like not as well known cards, like there are some interesting interactions that you can have in this strategy, and I can go into more detail with them starting out. So without further ado, guys, let's get into the deck profile, and I'll show you the choices that I made. So the first thing we're starting out right now is we got one copy of Mad Archfiend. If you guys don't know Jack and his Australian accent in the beginning, he was running Mad Archfiend or Mad Demon to start off his strategy. And, yeah, it's not the best monster for a lot of different reasons, but it's a really good card. It has piercing damage, and then will also switch itself into defense mode whenever it's attacked. So if you're getting attacked by a higher monster, good card to have it switch into defense mode. But on the minus side, it will switch into defense mode no matter what it's attacked by. So, if your opponent decides to attack with a monster that even has like one attack, this thing will still die. But still a good card and one of his most iconic monsters in the early game. Now, one of my favorite level 4s in the entire deck is one copy of Twin Sword Marauder, but I like to use his Japanese name. Oop, sorry about that, guys. I like to use his Japanese name, Twin Breaker. Now, Twin Breaker is one of my favorite cards because he has that same piercing effect as Mad Archfiend does, but he also packs the ability that if he attacks a defense position monster, you can attack once again in a row. So combining that with like a card like Megamorph or some other thing that really gets the power going, you're gonna be dealing some massive damage with this dude. And I've gone in for over 3,200 points of damage with this dude at one point. And at in one game that I actually played, I just sat on him for the whole duel, and he just did all the work for me. So really, really cool card. And I never underestimate like random commons from Crimson Crisis or something, because you never know what you could find in there. And the last level 4 that I'm going to profile right now is one copy of Mad Demon. Or not Mad Demon, but Lancer Demon. And this guy is one of Jack Atlas's later editions, right out of Star Strike Blast. And he's really good for giving any monster you control the ability to have piercing. And it's an activated effect, so yeah, it can be negated. It's not like, a condition of the card as it is on Mad Archfiend, but very, very good. And you can give one of your big synchro guys piercing, and that's also very, very fun. So that's it for level 4s for now, and now we're moving on to the level 5s. First thing off, we have Power Invader. Power Invader is one of Jack's strongest level 5 monsters in his deck, 2200 attack power. I think it is the strongest level 5 in his deck, but this is a fantastic card to combo with a variety of things, because when your opponent controls any 2 monsters, it's not like a Cyber Dragon effect like his Vice Dragon, but Power Invader, if your opponent controls 2 monsters, you can normal summon this guy without tributing. And the best combo that I love is to use a card that I also run in the deck, which is Revival Gift. Lets you revive a tuner monster from your grave as a trap, and then special summons 2 Gift Fiend tokens to your opponent's side of the field. So what I like to do is if your opponent doesn't control anything, or they're playing like a burn strategy, you activate this effect of Power Invader, summon him to the field, or you revive like a resonator, like a clock resonator or dark resonator from your graveyard, and then special summon the 2 Gift Fiend tokens to your opponent's side of the field, and suddenly you have every material that you need to pop this guy out and just swing in for massive damage, or make one of your big Red Dragon Archfiend monsters. So really, really cool card. Now, this wouldn't be a Jack Atlas deck, of course, without Vice Dragon. We've got Vice Dragon in here, just one copy, and I'll show you the other card that I'm having in here that is a strictly better version of this guy, but you got to have him in here because it's not a Jack Atlas deck without good old Vice Dragon. Anytime you can get him out, really, really cool play. Next card we're running, and this is one of the cards that I have in here to replace some of the stuff that Jack had, and that is Primitive Butterfly. Primitive Butterfly is exactly like Vice Dragon, except it doesn't need an opponent's monster to activate. Its attack power will not be halved, and once per turn, it can permanently gain the level of any and all insect-type monsters on its side of the field. So you can summon this guy and go for Red Dragon Archfiend first turn, rather than if you had Vice Dragon and you need to wait to activate a Cyber Dragon-esque effect. But Primitive Butterfly is so awesome because it's a level 5 for your level 3 tuners, and it can also be a level 2 or a level 6 for your level 2 tuners, on your first turn. And even better, if you're playing an insanely casual duel and you do manage to keep this on for 1 turn, you can make it go up to level 7 and then summon any of your level 1 tuners and instantly go for Red Dragon Archfiend play right there. Really, really incredible card, and I absolutely recommend this in the deck. I recently bumped it up to 3 because I really love the ratio. Now, it wouldn't be a Jack Atlas deck without those Resonators, and we're starting off with 2 Dark Resonators. One of his most iconic monsters, and its ability to not be destroyed by battle once per turn can also come in quite handy. With Dark Resonator, we also have Clock Resonator, who's a similar kind of aspect to that, except when he's in defense mode, once per turn, he cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects, which is another really, really nice kind of perk to that. Very, very good card, and I definitely like him in here at 2. For our one of Resonators, we have 1 copy of Barrier Resonator. Discard this guy to the grave to protect your tuners from battle damage and from being destroyed. Allows you to keep them on the field for next turn, especially if you're going for like a Red Nova Dragon or King Calamity play. And one of the hardest working tuners in the whole deck is 1 copy of Synchron Resonator. A lot of people have been telling me to bump this number up to 2, and definitely he could replace something like Barrier Resonator in here, but Jack did only run this once in his final duel against Yusei, and it didn't have its most powerful effect, because it can special summon when there's a synchro monster on the field, and then it allows you to gain the ability, if it's sent to the graveyard, to add any Resonator monster from your graveyard back to your hand. So lots of those dedicated Resonator decks will run this card at 3, and with good reason. It's a very, very awesome card, and can instantly turn your Red Dragon Archfiend into like an Abyss or something like that. I also like the fact that it's a level 1 dark, so if you combine it together with your primitive butterfly, you can also go for other interesting synchro plays, like some dark synchros, some certain dark synchros, which I'll profile a little bit. Next card we have in the deck is one copy of Mirror Resonator. Mirror Resonator is the other powerful monster, and it can special summon when your opponent controls an extra deck monster, even if that's a link monster or a pendulum monster, something like that. And then can gain the level of any monster your opponent controls. So if they have a level 4 on the field, you just have them gain the level, or whatever. And then if you have this plus a mind control, and your opponent's got an extra deck monster, you special summon this, have it gain the level of 4, and then mind control the monster and go for Red Dragon Archfiend play right there. Very, very cool. And for the final 2 tuners, we have 2 of his later tuners. The first one, of course, is Top Runner, the only level 4 tuner that he really ran, at least that I know of. I think that there was that gear card that he ran, but that was an anime exclusive. You won't use its effect that often, which is gaining 600 attack, but combining this, for synchro monsters gain 600 attack. However, combining this together with like Mad Archfiend or any one of your other level 4 monsters, the Lancer Archfiend or the Twin Breaker, gets you your Red Dragon Archfiend, which is another really cool feeling play, because that's exactly sort of what he was going for. And then the final tuner that we're running is one copy of Attack Gainer. Jack did run this tuner in one of his duels. I think he was using this in his duel against the Red Dragon Spirit or whatever that was when he found Scar Red Nova Dragon. Very cool card, and when he's used for a synchro summon, you can select a monster your opponent controls, and that monster loses 1,000 attack. It's a really, really cool play, and can put you in range if you have a big monster on your opponent's side of the field to get popped by a Scarlight. So, now, moving on to the other monsters. So, since we went over level 4 Fiend-type monsters earlier, we have one copy of Crying Ogre. This is strictly a worse Gores, but it's a really cool card, and it's actually saved me. I had a friend who was playing a Quasar deck, and he had 2 Quasar monsters out on the field, and I summoned Crying Ogre onto the field after his second one. I'd baited out a couple of his negations, so I summoned this guy onto the field, and he just stood there and was able to take out, combining with Megamorph, he was able to take out one of the Quasars, and he eventually succumbed, but he really, really put in work when it mattered the most, and it's a very, very cool card. Its ability to be special summoned as a level 4 is also great, combined with Top Runner, any of Jack's other monsters to really make some awesome plays there. Next cards we have in the deck, so I'll go over some of these, not in too much deal, but we have one copy of Magic Hole Golem. One of Jack's most powerful cards against the mighty Rex Goodwin. He used this card to basically allow his monsters to attack directly. And I was playing against a stall deck one time, and Magic Hole Golem was putting in mad work, getting my opponent down to really, really low levels of life. So never underestimate that Magic Hole Golem, but make sure not to put your Bonahemer through here. So that's that. Next, we have the level 2 monsters. So we're going to start things off with Jack's favorite Power Supply. Power Supply is a really awesome card. Once per turn, you can select a monster, and it gains 400 attack power. And I also used this against an X-Saber player who had a Hyun layout against me. Special summon the Mirror Resonator, and then copy the level, then summon this guy, and went for Red Dragon Archfiend to pop the field. Very, very cool card, and can put in some decent work. Not something you necessarily run in a competitive setting, but the 400 boost can do a little bit of work. Extra Veiler. This was a tuner monster in the anime, but it's a normal monster here, and also a very interesting card against Trick Stars, believe it or not, guys. It can be special summoned whenever your opponent special summons a monster, and then when that happens, they would take any damage that you would take. So against Trick Stars, you can just pop Extra Veiler out there, and he can just sit and look all pretty and stuff like that. And any effect damage that they would try to inflict on you with like a reincarnation or something like that is automatically negated. All right. So the next card we have in the deck, guys, is Dread Dragon. Jack used this card against the fake Jack Atlas. And anytime it's destroyed, you can add a dragon-type monster that's a tuner from your deck to your hand. And that's perfect if you are looking for the one and only Majestic Dragon. Got to have this in here if we're having all of the, if we want to go into Jack's Savior Red Dragon or Majestic Red Dragon. The card by itself can only be used as a tuner for a Majestic Synchro monster, and it doesn't have an inherent special summon ability. The Majestic monsters are very, very, inconsistent, require the entire deck to sort of focus around summoning them, and the tuner itself doesn't have a special summon ability, so, going for like the Abysses, which are sort of better options, are good. But I always like to go to the Majestic monster to really end the game, if the case just so happens for it. So that's that. We have a couple more monsters in the deck right now, and when you're playing the Majestics, you have to run some other stuff too. First, we're starting off with Dark Bug. Really, really awesome insect monster that allows you to special summon a level 3 Dark Tuner monster from your graveyard. So Dark Resonator can get back, especially with this card, and it's a level 1 non-tuner, so you can combine it together with Majestic Dragon to special summon out one of your other, to special summon out your big guy. The next level 1 tuner that we're running is a Jack special right here, and that is Needle Gunner, or Needle Soldier as he's called. And when he's used for a synchro summon, another level 1 non-tuner monster. He can give that monster piercing damage. So if you're putting him together with a Majestic Dragon, or you're going into a Tyrant or something like that, this guy can help you put big damage in. Your Red Dragon Archfiend guys get huge. So having this guy here can really change the match in your favor and help you get in damage where you wouldn't have been able to do so before. Very, very good card. And the final card we have is Batoru Feda, one of Jack's most awesome cards and a really awesome competitive card in its own right. This card saw play a lot in like Frog Monarch strategies and stuff, but here it mostly functions the same way. Even in that Monarch deck in the YCS, the guy used that against a Cosmo player and then came back and won the next turn. So still an awesome card, puts another body on board, and is a level 1 non-tuner in the event that you need it. Now that we're done with the monsters, that's the big stuff. We're moving on to the spells. And I only run a very small number of spells in here, but each one of these is meant to facilitate some more of those plays. Starting off first on our spell list is one copy of 1 for 1. Very, very awesome card. Really, really good for... it's not a card that he really ran, but like good for getting any of your level 1 non-tuners out of the deck, good for grabbing Majestic Dragon, good for grabbing your Mirror Resonator to synchro summon off and then be able to special summon it back, or, the Mirror Resonator can get any level, so it gives you a lot more option with this. Also has the extra added benefit of dumping things that you need in your graveyard, such as other Resonators to be special summoned back with some of your Revival cards, and just an awesome card that really helps the deck function even more. Next card we got in here is one copy of Creature Swap. Another awesome card. Your monsters will not really be as powerful as your opponents. Even though Jack had like the power strategy, we still got like, he doesn't run a monster that's above 1800 in here, since I didn't decide to add in Power Breaker. But you'll be stealing a lot of your opponent's monsters. Creature Swap's a perfect card for doing that. The next card we have, of course, just went back to 3 on the list, so I'm thinking about adding some other ones in here. It was one copy of Mind Control. Awesome card, steal your opponent's stuff, synchro away with it. There's no restriction besides on Tribute Summoning, which you'll barely use anyway. The next card we have is the card that I usually like to combine with a lot of Jack's cards, and that is one copy of Megamorph. Jack actually did run this card in several of his duels. I don't know how often he used it, but you'll often be... Jack says, like, the whole idea of entertainment is, like, getting yourself down to lower life points and then fighting back. In Arc V, he had the same attitude and actually said it explicitly to Yuya during their first duel. The entertainer has to be someone who doesn't win every duel, but who miraculously escapes out of, a situation where it's just like that person will lose. So Megamorph is that card. When you're at dire straits, it can pump one of your Red Dragon Archfiend monsters up to like 6,000 attack, or, even more, combining that together for Majestic for an 8,000 attack beater that has piercing. Just insanely good card. I use this to great effect with that Twin Breakers I told you. 32 direct on each one of the face down monsters, put a massive dent in my opponent's life points that they were not expecting. So really just an awesome card all around. And the final spell we're running, one copy of Earthquake. Another card Jack didn't run, but runs right in his strategy. Switches every monster on the field to defense mode, which is awesome to blow over your opponent's monsters with your original Red Dragon Archfiend, which a lot of players have been taking out of the extra deck lately. But this is, kind of a segue into the trap cards, that a lot of the main focus around the trap cards is, again, on, stopping your opponent while at the same time destroying, setting their monsters into defense mode and just being able to blow over a lot of their fields like that. So, without further ado, guys, let's get on to the trap cards. First trap card that I have here that I'm going to showcase is one copy of Red Screen. This is one of my favorite trap cards in the whole extra deck because of its ability to be a stop. When you activate this card, you cannot, your opponent cannot conduct their battle phase, so they can't attack any of your monsters on your side of the field. And what's really, really awesome is, in exchange for just 1,000 life points for each turn, you can prevent them from doing that play. However, you can also use this card when you control a Red Dragon Archfiend monster, special summon a level 1 tuner monster from your graveyard. However, this doesn't come up as often as you think, but it is something that can nevertheless be activated at any point. The only issue is that it puts you on an 8-turn counter if you activate it while you have 8,000 life points, because instead of destroying itself, it will take the last 1,000 life points from you. It just needs to take 1,000, so this card has gotten me down to 0 on multiple occasions, and I have lost because of it, trying to just get cards to my hand to make my plays, but it is nevertheless a good card to consider. Next card we have in here is one copy of Revival Gift, as I mentioned earlier, about special summoning the tuner monsters from your graveyard and giving the Gift Fiend tokens. And your Red Dragon Archfiends have lots of really awesome ways to get your opponent's tokens off the field. So basically, the drawback is almost non-existent. Next, we have one copy of Powerful Rebirth. Jack used this card to special summon back Twin Breaker against Yusei, and Bolt Tanner and Yanagi's. To their surprise, this card actually put in massive work by bringing his Twin Breaker up to level 5, allowing him to tune with his Dark Tinker, I believe it was, to go into Red Dragon Archfiend. Really, really awesome card. The level gain is mandatory, though, unfortunately, so you're not going to be combining that together with a top runner anytime soon. Now coming into the cards that allow you to switch your opponent's stuff to defense mode. A card that Jack loved and ran, one copy of Zero Gravity. Switches every monster's battle position on the field. Great for protecting your battle phase, and also for stopping and stymieing your opponent. Combining that together with one copy of Windstorm of Ataqua, which is kind of like the equivalent of the Butterfly to the Vice Dragon. Just a better copy of the card because it switches only your opponent's stuff. But I just wanted to have the Zero Gravity in there as well. Windstorm of Ataqua is very, very amazing for stopping the battle phase shenanigans and setting you up to be able to roll over your opponent's stuff with Red Dragon Archfiend the next turn. If only they had a card that prevented Red Dragon Archfiend from being destroyed by card effects or whatever, and just sort of fit with the 5D style. But this is as 5Ds as it gets, guys. This is as character as it gets. And the last card for switching battle positions, of course, is one copy of Changing Destiny. Changing Destiny is an amazing, amazing card. In exchange for switching a monster, you can switch a monster permanently to defense mode, and then in exchange, you either take damage equal to half its attack, or your opponent gains life points equal to half that monster's attack. So it's not, it does what it's supposed to do and serves a very interesting niche in the deck, but is nevertheless one of Jack's most stalwart trap cards, guys. This is one of his most iconic traps. The next card we're running, speaking of iconic traps, we have one copy of Shadow Spell, ran way in the beginning, and its brother and more powerful card itself, a card that saw competitive play for the longest time in a variety of different strategies, is a singular copy of Fiendish Chain. Largely overshadowed by other options, got overshadowed by Breakthrough Skill and then overshadowed by other things. When priority left, Fiendish Chain shot up to like a $30 or $50 card. I remember it because that was right around the time that I started playing the game back again. Fiendish Chain really, really putting in the work there. So awesome cards, and just can put the pain on your opponent and prevent them from doing certain plays. Now, one of Jack's all-time favorite trap cards here is Stargate, or as he calls it, Stargate. Stargate is a very Jack Atlas-esque trap, and Both Jack and Yusei used this in the very first duel that they had in the Fortune Cup Arena. And I remember at the time, like, they were playing, and they're like, oh my goodness, this is the greatest trap card in the existence of the game. And Jack has, like, you know, had this card. He used this in combination with his golems to be able to special summon both Red Demon's Dragon and Stardust Dragon against Yusei. This allows you to, every time you attack, you put a counter on it, and you tribute this card with any number of counters anytime monsters that you control conduct battle. And you can special summon any level monster with level equal to or less than that level from your deck to your hand. You can only do this during your main phase 1, though. So it is a card with a slow to accrue and then very slow payoff, but still, you know, this is a Jack Atlas deck, and you can't have anything without, of course, a first edition Duelist Genesis copy of Stargate. Pretty rare card in and of itself. And then the final card we got in here is a compulsory evacuation device. He ran compulsory escape device, so I figured, you know, this is pretty much the closest thing to that, so might as well play it. All right, guys, so moving on to the extra deck here. I'm going to go through the extra deck in a little bit of a, you know, kind of interesting style here. And for this one, instead of doing the 5D style, I decided to also incorporate the extra deck monsters from Jack's manga appearance as well as his appearance in Arc V, because I consider the extra deck a place where, you know, options are had. So rather than making the main deck all about, you know, that kind of stuff, otherwise it just turned into another resonator deck, I decided to make it all about the options of the deck. So these are all the different Red Dragon Archfiend options that you can run in here. And I'm going to, you know, put them in 3 different piles so that you can see all of the different cards and the different play styles you can go through. So we're going to start out, guys, of course, with the 3 main dragons in here. We have, of course, Red Dragon Archfiend to start it out, Jack's main monster from 5Ds. Kind of got power crept early on in the game, but still a very, very strong monster. The next monster they released is Hot Red Dragon Archfiend, another amazing monster as well. Lets you destroy all face-up attack position monsters on the field other than itself, but only it can attack. But that 3,000 attack, when this came out, was a very, very dastardly play. And then the last card, of course, we have is the Europrint Ultimate Rare Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend. So I've purposely sought out, I have all the ghosts for this, including the Assault mode, but I purposely sought out the Ultimate Rares because they're just easier to see. And some of the Red Dragon Archfiend Ultimate Rares are some of the best looking Ultimate Rares in the game, guys. I'm serious. Like, really, really good stuff. So, finally managed to get my hand on an ulti of this. Was really glad it was a Europrint. Scarlight is one of the best ones out of all 3 of the Red Dragon Archfiends as well, for its ability to destroy special summon effect monsters and with attack equal to or lower than itself, and then also inflict the damage to your opponent. So very, very kind of like attack-centered card. This card was actually amazing in like DDDs and stuff like that. But here's 5D stuff, the manga, and then Arc V, his 3 Red Dragon Archfiends. And I love like all of the different stuff. So now moving on, since we had Red Dragon Archfiend in here, starting off with some of the 5D stuff, it wouldn't be complete if we did not have 1 copy of Majestic Red Dragon, Ultimate Rare First Edition. Really, really awesome card. As I mentioned, you know, this card is great to combine together with different monsters. However, like, it is a tougher card to summon, and you do have to expend considerable resources to do that. But if you combine this together with like a Megamorph or something like that, you know, this can put in serious hurt against your opponent. Because it cannot be destroyed by card effects. So like Mirror Forces and things like that are out of the question. A Compulse will still like get this for everything it's worth, though. But you can activate that effect, and then it can gain, if you attack, like, it's got the effect to destroy all the defense position monsters your opponent controls. And then it also has the extra added effect of being able to negate a monster effect on the field and then gain its attack power, so you can boost up to even higher heights and sometimes get the whole game with Majestic if you've done the stuff with Needle Soldier and Megamorph. And I have done that before. It's a very interesting play. But in order to run Majestic effectively, I think like you have to run a deck around him, and not to mention, like, he is a very interesting monster in and of his own right. Next monster, of course, that we're running in Jack Atlas's 5D's arsenal is 1 copy of Red Nova Dragon. Red Nova Dragon is the slightly easier to summon with 2 tuners and a Red Dragon Archfiend itself, and then it gains 500 attack for everything, and then cannot be destroyed by the effects of spell, trap, or monsters. And then this can also banish itself to negate an attack for anything. So very, very useful, and also doesn't have Majestic's thing of shuffling itself back into the extra deck and then special summoning the Red Dragon Archfiend in the end phase. Like, if this is here, it's here to stay. They used to be very good cards to summon, but, you know, with power creep and non-targeting and non-destruction and stuff like that, that's been going crazy in the format. You know, it's kind of moved off into its own thing. Next card we're running, of course, is one copy of Crimson Blader. Jack actually did run this card. I decided to pick up the Astral Pack version because I believe that one was, you know, at least rarer to me than the Secret Rare. Very, very cool card, and was amazing in Dragon Ruler format, by the way, guys. But when he destroys a monster by battle, your opponent cannot summon level 5 or higher monsters, normal or special summon, for their entirety of their next turn, which you'd be surprised how much that hurts various decks. So that really killed Dragon Ruler players, so it was always a card that a lot of people ran in the Dragon Ruler format. Next, we have, of course, Chaos King Archfiend, another card. He got this from Kaz, the police dueler guy, and when he chased after that vicious guy, he used this in his deck against him, and its ability to switch the attack and defense of various monsters can come in incredibly handy, especially for beating over like things such as the Blue Eyes Chaos Max Dragon. This does not target and just switches the attacks of all things when it attacks, so you just get in there, and it's 26-26, so you don't have to worry about it like losing any powers of attack, but you just get in there and it will instantly help you dispatch it. 7's also a very easy number to reach in the deck. Any level 4 plus level 3 will get you him, and the first ed ulti is quite nice, guys. So that is that. Of course, this would not be Jack Atlas if we didn't run the card that he had for a little while. We have one copy of Stardust in here. I do have the Ghost first ed. I'm looking for an ulti first ed, so I can just throw it in here, but for now we're going to be sticking with the secret, guys. Stardust is just another awesome card for Jack's strategy, and was a linchpin until he had to give it back to Yusei. But I just figured since Jack had it and Jack ran it, we're tossing Stardust in here. And I don't really have a Yusei deck right now to showcase, so I can't really showcase that off. Now, moving on to the manga stuff. Now, we've had a lot of manga cards with Jack. Jack ran a good number of manga cards, and so we're going to start with low-level stuff. We're going to start off with Celestial Wolf Blue Sirius. Not a lot of people realize that he ran this. Came out as an ultra rare in Shadow Specters, and it had a little bit of hype for a while, but eventually that died down. And when it's sent to the graveyard or destroyed, you can target a monster your opponent controls, and it loses 2400 attack, like same as that. But it's a good level 6 to like ramp up into various things. Next we have, of course, Dark Highlander, 2800, just beat stick, level 7, very easy to summon with non-tuner fiend type monsters. So most of all your level 4s are fiends except for the Twin Breaker, so very, very easy to also get out. But just be warned, you cannot conduct a synchro summon. You cannot conduct synchro summons while this guy is out, so sometimes that might hurt you a little bit more than it would, for instance, hurt your opponent. But, you know, his other effect is not really that useful, like that popping equip cards and whatnot, but still important to note as well. Now, getting into some of his other monsters, guys. So the 3 main monsters he has starting out is one copy of Archfiend Abyss. I got the Europrint first ed of this guy. Very, very cool card. One of the best cards in this whole extra deck, by the way. It basically, you can use a Red Dragon Archfiend monster. So that's one of the other things, is Scarlight and Red Dragon Archfiend. Scarlight itself counts as Red Dragon Archfiend, so you can use it for all of the 5D stuff, but Hot Red Dragon Archfiend does not, because it's pretty much a different monster. But you still can use it with this, because it only requires a level 8 dragon type monster, a dark dragon type synchro monster. And so you just combine that with any of your level 1 tuner monsters, and you can instantly go for Abyss. And Abyss, it's regular effect. Like High Speed Riders buffed a lot of stuff, which was really cool. Rather than nerfing things, its regular effect was just when you attack in, you can special summon when you attack and inflict battle damage, you can special summon a tuner from your graveyard. And Jack uses this in combination with stuff to like ramp up into several different synchro monsters over the course of a single battle phase, which you'll see in a little bit. However, its extra effect of being able to negate any face-up card once during either player's turn is absolutely insane. And it actually brought this card into some small little bits of, it's what single-handedly makes the Resonator deck semi, useful or competitive. Or at least it did before Link format kind of stepped in there. But this is just a really, really awesome card. And, definitely something that a lot of players sort of gravitated to when the Red Dragon Archfiend stuff dropped. And it can even negate like things like Raigekis and other stuff that your opponent activates. All it has to be is on the field and face up, which those cards have to be in order to activate and resolve. So you can really choose what to do to your opponent based just solely on that, guys. So that's Abyss. Next card, of course, we have is the Europrint copy of Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Bane, and it's got that really, really nice foiling, as you guys can see, that kind of covers the whole card. A lot of people call that a misprint. I just think it looks amazing. And I was very, very happy to have been able to get this. Shout out to Team Time Riders Dockwool for hooking me up with this card. With that and the Abyss, by the way. So Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Bane is any Dark Dragon type and then 1 tuner as well. So you can ramp from 8 and 2, or you can ramp from 9 and 1 Abyss with the level 1 tuner that it special summons from the grave. And then when it attacks, it can special summon 1 tuner, 2 tuners with the same level, 1 from deck and 1 from your grave. And then once you do that, you have the ability to use those tuners to synchro summon whatever you want, or you can activate this effect. The other effect which this card has is the ability to tribute 1 monster on the field and then special summon a Red Dragon Archfiend from your graveyard. So using Bane to special summon back Abyss, or to special summon back, the normal Red Dragon Archfiend to put even more negations on board is another awesome play. The next card we have in here is 1 copy of Hot Red Dragon Archfiend King Calamity, and he's the big boy. He's the Red Nova of the whole combo, and he was the guy who Jack eventually went up into. And King Calamity is kind of like a game ender card in the same way that Stardust Sea for Divine Dragon is. You activate King Calamity's effect, and his summon cannot be negated, and he cannot be when you can choose to activate his effect to have your opponent's cards not be able to activate for the rest of the turn, and they can't respond to that. And then when he attacks in, you can deal damage equal to his attack to your opponent's monsters. And then when he's destroyed, you can special summon any level 8 or lower dragon-type synchro monster from your graveyard. So really, really good game ender card with a backup plan. So that's it for the manga stuff. And now finally moving on to one final card we have here for the anime Arc V is the Tyrant Red Dragon Archfiend. And I went out of my way to get the Duelist Pack version of it, since I think that one will become the rarer one over time. Could be wrong, though, rather than the Tito version, but a lot of people didn't really open this Duelist Pack, so when I had the chance to get the Duelist Pack version, I jumped on it. Tyrant Red Dragon Archfiend, once per turn, can destroy everything on the field. So, like, not just the effect monster, you can destroy everything, and then if your opponent activates a spell or trap during the battle phase, you can negate it, and this card will permanently gain 500 attack. My favorite thing about Tyrant Red Dragon Archfiend that a lot of people don't realize is that you can actually summon him with 2 tuners and any 1 non-tuner monster. It doesn't have to be a Red Dragon Archfiend synchro. So that is, like, amazing. And you can randomly have, like, a random tuner just chilling on your field, and Tyrant Red Dragon Archfiend can be summoned. And again, another awesome card for, like, DDDs, who will often find themselves with like more than 1 tuner on the field, and have, this will give you something to go into that's just amazing. So that is it for the Red Dragon Archfiend monsters, and then I have a couple more cards that I want to showcase really quickly here. This deck profile has gone on crazy long, and I apologize for that, but I just wanted to give some of these things a showcase here. My apologies once again. So these are some other options, and in addition to my Vermilion Dragon mech, which I traded away as a level 9 option, Star Eater's Grade is a level 11, and I think it's like, it's got a similar kind of aspect to Jack's like personality. So I felt it might be like a worthy addition in terms of just staying with the theme of Jack Atlas rather than, you know, going a little bit crazy with it. Of course, we got Crystal Wing in here. Really great if you got a level 7 and, you know, you got another tuner monster. You can just pop this guy out. Very, very good card. We'll wait for the Red Rising Dragon to come out, of course, but, you know, definitely something to consider if you want to make it a little bit more competitive. And then the final 2 cards we have in here is 1 Dark Diviner and 1 Underground Arachnid. And you may be asking why. So Dark Diviner is in here because I actually ended up using this card with the Dark Bug in a dedicated deck when it just came out, ORCS, way back when I started in the game, like 2011, 2012. And it's a Dark Tuner and any non-tuner insect. So if you ran I used to run a deck with like 3 Dark Bug and 3 Junk Warrior who could both special summon each other out and then go for Dark Diviner back when he was good. But this guy is amazing because, you know, he just can beat over anything, and then when he does, your opponent has to mill 3 from their deck to the graveyard. So kind of like a mill like worm strategy, and was used by Trudge as well. So he was a guy who Jack played against, and I feel like, you know, that's definitely enough to have it included in here for a little bit of extra option plays if you want. Not to mention it is a level 4 that you can use to ramp up into if you got like Top Runner on the field or something like that and you want to go for your synchro play without sacrificing too much. So very, very cool. And finally, of course, Underground Arachnid, made with any Dark Tuner and any non-tuner insect type monster. So you can get your tuners up big, and with your resonator and your primitive butterfly, very, very easy to pull Underground Arachnid out. Can steal an opponent's monster and has the extra added ability when it attacks, your opponent cannot activate any spell or traps until the end of the damage step. I kind of call that like the Ancient Gear ability, but Underground Arachnid's got that as well. Still looking for a first ed secret. It was a couple of years ago I found out these, you know, secret rares of these cards actually existed, but they're, despite being cheap, they're very, very hard to find in like people's binders and stuff like that. So, you know, it's definitely something I'm looking for, but it's a very, very cool card and something, you know, another level 6 option, and definitely something you should consider just throwing in there just in case for, you know, more Jack Atlas goodies. So guys, with that, that's going to wrap it up for the Jack Atlas character deck. This dragged on way longer than I wanted it to, but I really, you know, have so much to say about all the different cards that I have put in here, and I really feel strongly about all the different options. I spent a lot of time on the deck, just constantly going over like many different types of plays, and, you know, if many of my hero deck videos are any indication, like, it's not going to be the last that you hear from this deck. But with that, guys, you know, thank you so much for watching, and if you got to the end of the video, please leave a smiley or something below to let me know that you did reach the end of the video, because I'm going to be honest, never expected it. And it's just, you know, thank you guys so much for all the support that you've been giving the channel, and it really means a lot to us. So with that, guys, it's been the Mermail Master, and I'm signing out. Catch you guys next time. Peace.